I always believed home was my safe haven, but one morning I woke up exhausted again. My sleep was restless, my mind foggy, and my heart raced for no reason. That's when I started noticing the little things, the clutter, the noise, the artificial lights. I never thought twice about them until I learned the truth. These everyday objects weren't just harmless. They were quietly feeding my anxiety, disrupting my sleep, and even taking years off my life. And here's the scary part. Most people over 70 have at least 5 of these in their home right now. If you want to age better and live longer, hit that subscribe button. Let's uncover what's really going on in your home. Stress isn't always loud. Sometimes it's hidden in plain sight. The things you see, hear, or touch every day without realizing their effect. I used to ignore them too, until I started feeling constantly drained, anxious, and restless. That's when I dug into the science, and what I found shocked me. These tiny Number 1, clutter, a constant reminder of stress. I used to think clutter was just stuff. Piles of old magazines, unopened mail, random just-in-case items tucked away in drawers. It was harmless, right? But every time I walked past it, I felt a little heavier. Like my brain was keeping track of every unfinished task, every decision I was avoiding. I didn't notice how much it weighed on me. Until one day I cleared a single table, just one. And something strange happened. I felt lighter. My breathing slowed, my shoulders relaxed. And for the first time in a while, my mind felt clearer. That's when I realized clutter isn't just physical, it's mental. Every piece of clutter is a silent to-do whispering at you. Sort me, deal with me. Don't forget about me, and science backs this up. Research shows that clutter raises cortisol, the stress hormone responsible for anxiety and poor sleep. It overloads the brain, making it harder to focus, harder to relax, and even harder to sleep. You don't have to overhaul your entire home overnight. Pick one surface, a table, a drawer, a shelf. Clear it completely. Feel the difference. Because once you do, you'll start to realize how much lighter life can feel without the mental weight of excess stuff. But even after I cleared the clutter, something still felt off. There was another source of stress. Something I didn't even notice until I sat in complete silence. Number 2, background noise, stress you don't notice. For years, I kept my TV on all day, not because I was watching it, but because I liked the background noise. It made the house feel less empty. But what I didn't realize was that this constant stream of sound, commercials, news reports, random conversations was keeping my brain in a low-level state of stress. I only noticed it when I turned it off one day. The silence felt uncomfortable at first, almost eerie. But after a few minutes, something strange happened. I felt calmer. My thoughts slowed down. I could actually hear myself think. That's when I started digging into the science, and what I found was shocking. Studies show that constant noise, even at low levels, triggers the brain's fight-or-flight response. It keeps cortisol levels elevated, making it harder to relax, focus, and even sleep. And for seniors, this is even more critical. Over time, exposure to chronic noise has been linked to higher blood pressure, increased anxiety, and even cognitive decline. Try turning off unnecessary noise for at least an hour a day. Pay attention to how it makes you feel. If silence feels too strange at first, replace it with something calming, like soft instrumental music or nature sounds. You might be surprised how much more relaxed and clear-headed you feel. And if you think sound is bad, wait until you hear about something in your home that affects your sleep every single night. Number 3, bright artificial lighting, the sleep disruptor. I never gave much thought to lighting. Every evening, I kept the overhead lights on, reading, watching TV, or just moving around the house. It felt normal. Why would a little extra brightness matter? But then, I started waking up feeling groggy, like I hadn't slept deeply enough. No matter how early I went to bed, I just wasn't as rested. That's when I stumbled across something fascinating: artificial lighting, especially bright white or blue-toned lights. Tricks the brain into thinking it's still daytime. And when your brain thinks it's daytime, it doesn't produce enough melatonin, the hormone that tells your body to wind down for deep, restorative sleep. That means even if you're in bed for 8 hours, your sleep is shallower, and your body doesn't recover the way it should. Studies even show that excessive nighttime light exposure is linked to higher risks of insomnia, cognitive decline, and even metabolic issues over time. The fix: switch to softer, warmer lights after sunset. Use lamps instead of overhead lights. If you watch TV or use screens, turn on night mode or use blue light filters. And if you wake up in the middle of the night, avoid turning on bright lights. Use a dim nightlight instead. Your body will thank you with deeper, more restful sleep. But it wasn't just light. Something I physically touched every day was making my body tense without me even realizing it. Number 4, old, unsupportive furniture, the hidden physical stressor. For years, I had a favorite chair. It wasn't fancy, but it was familiar. My go-to spot for reading, watching TV, even dozing off. I never thought much about it until I started waking up with a stiff back and sore legs. I blamed it on aging. But one day, after sitting in a newer, more supportive chair, I noticed something. My posture felt better, my back didn't ache, and I wasn't shifting around trying to get comfortable. That's when it hit me. My old chair wasn't just worn in, it was wearing me down. And I'm not alone. As we age, we lose flexibility and muscle strength, making it even more important to have furniture that supports rather than strains our bodies. Studies show that poor sitting posture leads to joint pain, reduced circulation, and even higher stress levels. The worst part, most people don't even realize their furniture is making them uncomfortable until they start feeling the pain. Good posture isn't just about standing up straight. It starts with where you sit. Pay attention to how your body feels after sitting for a while. Do your legs feel stiff? Does your lower back ache? If so, small adjustments, like adding lumbar support, using a footrest, or upgrading to a more ergonomic chair, can make a big difference. Your body will thank you. But no matter how comfortable my furniture was, I still wasn't breathing right. And that's when I found out why. Number 5, poor air quality, the silent irritant. I always thought of air pollution as something outside. Smog, car exhaust, factory smoke. But one day, I came across a fact that stopped me in my tracks. Indoor air can be up to 5 times more polluted than outdoor air. At first, I didn't believe it, but then I started paying attention. Some days, I'd wake up with a scratchy throat or a slight headache. Other times, I'd feel more tired than usual, even after a full night's sleep. I chalked it up to aging, until I realized the culprit was right under my nose. Dust, pet dander, mold spores, and even chemicals from cleaning products were floating in the air, slowly affecting my health. And the worst part? Unlike clutter or noise, you can't see poor air quality. You only feel it over time. Research shows that long-term exposure to indoor pollutants can increase stress, fatigue, and even the risk of respiratory issues. Improving air quality doesn't have to be complicated. Start by opening windows for a few minutes each day to let fresh air in. Add a few air-purifying plants, like peace lilies or snake plants. And if you have an HVAC system, check your air filters if they're old and dusty. Replacing them can make a big difference. These small changes can help clear your air and, surprisingly, boost your mood and energy. And then I noticed something else. Something that didn't just stress me out, but actually triggered memories of stress. Number 6, unfinished projects, mental clutter. I never thought much about the little unfinished projects around my house. A half-finished puzzle sitting on the table, a broken clock I kept meaning to fix, a pile of papers I told myself I'd organize someday. They seemed harmless, just things I'd get to eventually. But then I noticed something strange. Every time I walked past them, I felt a tiny weight on my shoulders, a quiet voice in the back of my mind whispering, "You still haven't done this." It wasn't loud, but it was always there, adding subtle pressure I didn't even realize I was carrying. And then I learned the science behind it. Unfinished tasks create mental clutter, keeping the brain in a low-level state of stress. It's called the Zeigarnik effect, a phenomenon where incomplete tasks linger in your mind, making it harder to relax and fully focus on the present. The solution isn't to finish everything at once, it's to make a decision. Either finish it or let it go. If a project truly matters, set a deadline and commit to completing it. But if it's been sitting there for months or years and doesn't add joy or value to your life, give yourself permission to let it go. Even deciding not to finish something can be freeing. The moment I cleared those unfinished projects, I felt lighter, like I had finally closed a chapter in my mind. But the biggest emotional stressor? It wasn't something broken. It was something I held on to for too long. Number 7, emotional clutter, holding onto the past. One day, I was clearing out an old drawer when I found a watch, one I hadn't worn in years. It was a gift from someone who was no longer in my life, and holding it stirred up emotions I thought I had buried. And then I looked around and noticed more. Clothes that no longer fit, but reminded me of a different time. Letters from people I no longer spoke to. Souvenirs from places I had bittersweet memories of. I had convinced myself these things didn't matter. They were just objects. But deep down, they were quiet reminders of stress, guilt, and loss. And I didn't realize how much they were weighing on me until I started letting them go. Science backs this up. Studies show that clutter, especially items tied to emotional baggage, can increase anxiety and even affect sleep. The brain constantly processes what's around you, and when your home is filled with reminders of the past, it's harder to fully embrace the present. Here's the rule I gave myself. If something brings me peace, I keep it. If it brings stress, guilt, or sadness, I let it go. And letting go doesn't always mean throwing something away. It can mean donating, passing it on, or simply deciding it no longer has power over you. The moment I made that shift, my home didn't just feel less cluttered, it felt lighter, like a place I actually wanted to be. And that's when I made the final change. One that transformed my home into a true place of peace. Number 8. Toxic cleaning products, the hidden health risk. For years, I believed a clean home was a healthy home. I used the strongest cleaning products I could find, the ones that promised to kill 99.9% of germs, leave a fresh scent, and make everything sparkle. But one day, after scrubbing my kitchen, I noticed something strange. My throat felt scratchy, My eyes were irritated and I had a slight headache. I brushed it off as nothing until I started reading about what was actually in those products. Many common cleaners contain harsh chemicals that release fumes into the air. And over time, those fumes don't just disappear. They build up in your home and in your body. Some studies even link these chemicals to increased stress, hormone disruption, and respiratory issues. I thought I was making my home healthier, but in reality, I was filling it with invisible irritants that made my body work harder just to function. The good news? You don't need harsh chemicals to keep your home clean. Simple natural ingredients like vinegar, baking soda, and Castile soap can do the job just as well without polluting your air. Even switching to fragrance-free or plant-based cleaners can make a big difference. Within weeks of making the change, I noticed the air in my home felt lighter, and I wasn't getting those mystery headaches anymore. A small switch, but a powerful one. But even if your home is clean, there's one last thing that can still keep stress levels high. Number 9, overstimulating colors and decor, the unnoticed stressor. For years, I never paid much attention to the colors in my home. I figured walls were walls, furniture was furniture, nothing more. But then, one evening after a particularly stressful day, I sat in my living room and realized something. The space around me wasn't helping me relax. The bold reds, the loud patterns, the cluttered decor, it all felt overwhelming, even though I hadn't noticed it before. So I started digging into the science, and what I found was shocking. Studies show that certain colors, especially bright reds, oranges and yellows, can actually increase heart rate, boost cortisol levels, and trigger anxiety without us even realizing it. On the other hand, softer, more muted tones like blues, greens, and earthy neutrals have been shown to lower stress and create a sense of calm. That's when I realized my home wasn't just a place I lived in. It was a space that influenced my emotions every single day. I didn't need a full renovation to make a change. Small adjustments, like swapping out bright decor for softer, more natural tones using warm lighting, and reducing visual clutter, transformed my space into a place that actually helped me unwind. And the best part, the calmer my environment became, the calmer I felt. And that's when it all clicked. Your home should heal you, not drain you. For years, I thought stress came from the outside world, from work, from responsibilities, from things beyond my control. But the more I paid attention, the more I realized stress was also inside my home. It was in the clutter, the noise, the things I held on to just because. And when I started making small changes, I felt a difference, not just in my space, but in my mind, my energy, and even my sleep. Your home should heal you, not drain you. Every item in it either adds to your peace or takes away from it. So here's a simple challenge. Walk into a room today and look at it with fresh eyes. What's one thing that doesn't bring you peace? What's one thing you're ready to let go of? It doesn't have to be big. Even a small shift can make a difference. Which one of these surprised you the most? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you want more ways to create a healthier, longer life, make sure to subscribe, because next time I'll be sharing simple home upgrades that can actually extend your lifespan.